Welcome to the new CEO Playbook, how leaders are reinventing work for the post-COVID world. My guests today are here to give you pages from their own journals of how they led through COVID, how they view the aftermath now for their company's mission, the future of their workforce, and the future of work. Please do welcome Vice Chairman and CEO of SABIC, Yousef Abdullah Al-Benyan. Thanks very much for joining me here in Riyadh. From Paris, we're joined by the CEO of Thales, Patrice Caine, two guests from New York, CEO of BNY Mellons, Todd Gibbons, and also the founder and CEO of Third Point, Daniel Loeb. Pleasure to have you both. And please welcome from Australia, Special Advisor to the Public Investment Fund, Mr. Andrew Liveris. So let's start with the perspective of our host and one of the biggest changes that COVID brought to business, rapid and accelerated digital transformation. SABIC is diversified chemicals, one of the leaders in the creation of the circular economy for plastics, operating in over 50 countries. So given this rapid digitalization, tell me how this has changed how SABIC works.
Well, again, thank you very much. Just to start with, I think we need to have a clarity around the new norm. As of today, just looking at this session, normally each one of the speakers, they have minimum 15 minutes. As of today, we have only 5 minutes. So we need to speed, we need to be agile, and also for sure we need to be effective how to communicate. If you look at what we experience, and before maybe answer the change transformations on the digital sphere, I think we need to recognize that any scale that is really distracted or disturb the global economy, which we have experienced on 2020 because of COVID-19, you will be surprised this type of really distractions disturb the way that corporate operates, and normally, in fact, always bring and inspiring new rules for governments and business, which they need to adapt to. But if I want to answer your specific questions, I think will be much better for the audience to look at it from a comprehensive point of view. I look at it before and during and after. In fact, even before the COVID-19, SABIC has really looked at a very clear strategy that the seamless engagement and communications, the platform, is going to be very important for SABIC growth and competitive positions. That's why we have invested heavily on the digital mobility. And we have a very strong, robust IT infrastructures enable us to deal with it. In the same times, we have looked at the importance of the Industry 4.0 and what's the advanced technology that is needed, either from the artificial intelligence or from really any other means that is going to have an impact on our performance and strengthen our competitive advantage. During the COVID, we were able to work from home next day. In fact, we have more than 8,000 consecutive meetings concurrently in the same times for our global platform because of our platform that we have already created prior to COVID-19. Now the question is what happened after? I think we have taken a very serious the changes and transformation we have seen. In fact, as a chemical company, catalyst is a very important piece. And we think the catalyst of the pandemic has really triggered a profound reactions to the way we do business, and we need to seek out inputs from all stakeholders and adjust accordingly, specifically around digitizations.
Interesting. So Todd, let's come to you now. How does that resonate with you? Through BNY Mellons' predecessor, the Bank of New York, you've been around since just after American independence. You've lived through war, strife, and even previous pandemic. You've had to be resilient. What is it that you think is different this time round when you think about how you support your employees and your clients?
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me. This is, I think at this time, it's great that the world can connect as much as possible. You know, as we've gone through the pandemic, and as I think about it, 60 years before I was born, the world went through two world ours went through a Great Depression, and it also suffered a pandemic that was far more deadly than what we've gone through. We've been kind of to operate a relatively gentle environment. And as I think about my father, that was what was imprinted upon him, the Great Depression. He never imagined the affluence that the country was going to experience.
I'm so sorry, we're losing the sound
last year,
with you.
Established an resiliency office a number of years ago. It served us well.
I'm going to stop you there, Todd, just for a moment while we try to sort your sound out. It's very cut up. One of the challenges of digital transformation. Patrice, let's come to you for a moment. In the Paris hub, COVID has transformed Thales, how you've done business, especially getting those international teams to coordinate digitally on complex systems. Tell me about the lessons that you learned in terms of working methods from lockdown.
Thank you, Edie, for your question, and good afternoon all. Indeed, this crisis has accelerated the transformation that we launched, in fact, before the crisis, to work and interact more and more through digital means. And typically, we have put in place what we call smart working, which is an hybrid approach between working from home and working from our sites. So it gives more autonomy to the team. It has also led us to empower them even more than before, and having them more responsible for what they do. And clearly, it's a real game changer in terms of international collaboration. When you have teams across the globe working on a very complex development, allowing them to work all together without traveling, without, I would say, losing time traveling and so on and so forth, is of great help for these international complex projects or programs that we do and deliver for our customers.
Thank you. We'll come back to you in a moment. Let's go to Australia. Special thank you to getting up. I think it's the middle of the night there. We've heard about infrastructure, the challenges there. What about manufacturing? COVID sent shockwaves into globalized supply chains. Which country or countries do you think are giving this new model for how to knit together cost concerns and guaranteed supply for national populations as well? And Andrew, can you hear me? In Australia.
Edie, and thank you for, we'll take off Yousef's challenge and do be.
I think we're getting a problem from Australia. Give us a go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, one more time. Give it a go.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Go ahead, Andrew.
You hear me? Hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Andrew.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
We can hear you. Can you go ahead?
Can you hear me? Okay. I'll be challenged. Globalization, electrical, and connecting us. We are now in globalization 2.0 thanks to Bach. I don't know if I can be heard.
We can hear you. There's just a delay.
Can I be heard?
Carry on. Okay, Andrew, we're going to leave you for a moment. We'll try to get back to you. I'll come back to my guest on stage here. Let's move to development strategy. How are you reevaluating how you develop your workforce? 33,000 employees across the globe.
Well, I think we have looked at these challenges. It's not only from the perspective of people developments. We have looked at it from three triangles. The first one is the well-being of our employees, and specifically around the social, the physical, the financials, and also the mental. This is a very important piece. And the second dimensions, we look at the workforce. I mean, in terms of the workplace, the policy that we need to introduce in order for us to cope with the new norm, how is the business need to be operated with, and what type of skill set that we need to bring our organizations in order for us to stay relevant to the market and customers' demands. And finally, we look at also the operating model. I think each company needs to look at the operating model from a different perspective. We need to revisit our portfolio. We need to revisit our way of operating domestically, globally, and make sure that this is also cope with the market changes, cope with the new generations that we are dealing with, and more importantly, bring a value to our shareholders, and a larger scale is the stakeholders for us.
Thank you. Todd, let's come back to you. I rudely interrupted your connection there. Tell us a little about how BNY Mellon is reacting now, how you're responding.
Well, I mean, there's quite a few things going on. I think the earlier conversation around digitization and the environment is where we're digitizing everything. I think we're going to continue to see that move rapidly. I think the conversation around the workforce of the future and where that is going to go, and the importance of wellness, and it was pointed out, it's not just financial, but also as we talk, even extending that into resiliency. The conversation typically around wellness is something that took place in HR, and occasionally it was raised, but it's a conversation that we're holding now at the C-suite on a regular basis. And we continue to manage through that and through the mental aspects of it, and encourage our employees to constantly take advantage of the resources that are available to them. In terms of what the workplace environment is going to look like, let's face it, in this environment, networking is a challenge. Especially for new employees, but we have onboarded a significant number of employees over the past year, and I think the technology helps, but it's really a human experience, and so I don't think that's going to change. What I do think we're going to see now that we've all become, although that hasn't felt like it so much through this session, but we've all become a lot more fluent in the technology available to us. I think once you start to introduce a little AI, a little more voice recognition, a little more machine learning, the experience of what an office is going to look like and what a digital office is going to look like in the not too distant future, I think now we will adapt to that much more quickly. But ultimately, what's not going to change, and I think what strong leaders will show, is empathy. And if anything, I think this experience has reinforced the importance of empathy around leaders, recognizing what's going on around them, really listening, showing true objectivity, and driving decisions accordingly. So I think things will change. Will be more digital. Mobile device is going to be even more important, but the human touch will not.
I love that about the human touch. Andrew, let's give you one more try. Give us your insight into how manufacturing needs to respond to the crisis and the aftermath.
Thank you for your patience, and sorry for the connection. I think sovereign capability and supply chain resiliency is what we have learnt. It was mentioned on an earlier panel. I think the virus has shown us that big ships can be stopped by little particles. So what we've really got to do is look at countries that have got national industrial strategies. I'm proud to say the Kingdom has one of those, which is advanced manufacturing and onshore capability. So you're not reliant completely on imports of pharmaceuticals, of things that you care about like food and water and energy, that you need a sovereign capability and a national industrial strategy. I think the Chinas, the Singapores, the East Asians have shown us the way there. I think some Middle East economies, especially the Kingdom, is working hard on that. But here we are with President Biden announcing a Make It in America strategy as recent as this week. I was involved in President Obama and President Trump's Make It in America strategy. I think onshoring is an insurance policy, but that doesn't mean just inbounding low labor cost manufacturing. It really means really building an innovation ecosystem and a talent pipeline for the digital age. That the arrival of high volume, high quality goods and how to actually serve your domestic market and your region, and really trust your neighbor, establish regional pacts, will actually be globalization 2.0. I think that's what manufacturing is going to look like. It's going to be digital and it's going to be onshore as a result of this pandemic.
Thank you. You mentioned the talent pipeline there. Let's come to Patrice again. I know that you've revised how Thales has done training and development. It's so critical, not just for engineers, but for all employees to stay at the cutting edge of knowledge for the work that you do. How have you done this?
Well, indeed, Thales is a tech group, and it is very important to have, I would say, the best trained workforce, not only for our engineers, but for all the employees of Thales. We spent around 4 billion euros per year in R&D. 30,000 people works in our labs out of the 80,000. So you see the importance of competencies, technologies, innovation at Thales. So we've done 4 things to be short. First, we have fully digitalized our training content. So now it's available 24 hours per day, and day and night, if I may say, to everybody. Secondly, we have created what we call virtual classrooms, so to reproduce real classrooms, but of course through digital means. So as people are prevented to travel, you can have the same, I would say, journey or the same experience through virtual classrooms, having trainers and trainees sharing, I would say, their experience and the training session. Third, we have put in place some dedicated modules because of this crisis. Because this crisis has made apparent needs for some specific training, like what we call compassionate leadership, trainings typically on how to lead teams through virtual needs, or how to collaborate even more efficiently in a digital world. And fourth, which is absolutely important, we have put in place what we call a new leadership model, which is clearly key behaviors that are more crucial than ever to succeeding in all our businesses. So under the banner of Think Big, Make It Happen, together, these key behaviors will be, I would say, rolled out across the entire company to help people to assess, promote, even recruit new talents in this new world. So you see a lot of change has happened in a very short period of time, if I may say, thanks or because of this unprecedented crisis.
Very quickly, I want to give Todd one more chance. Just tell me how you've helped your employees at BNY Mellon manage the mental health aspect of dealing with the entire pandemic.
Yeah, so one of the things that we did early on is we brought basically wellness into the C-suite, and so it was no longer an HR discussion. And we decided that we needed to make some moves very quickly to deal with some of the anxiety that folks were obviously feeling, given what was going on around them. So we announced that there would be no layoffs for the year. We offered mental health services for employees and their families. What we also wanted to do was make sure that there were no financial pressures on them where we could. So we provided stipends to help people set up their work from home offices, in some instances for the lower paid people to even pick up faster broadband. Anybody that are essential in office, there were only a couple of thousand out of a 50,000 employee base. We made sure that we provided stipends for them. We did a lot of training that Patrice just talked about in training about also at the same time we were facing some of the racial issues in this country that surfaced and provided a lot of empathy through the training.
So sorry, we're going to have to stop you there. We have run out of time.
Well, I had more to go.
I know it, and I didn't even get back to Australia. Thank you all so much for your time. We really appreciate it.